You never have to worry about Airbnb ever again. It's the stupidest model unless you're going after like super hyper specific. I'm going to give you an amazing experience type of real estate investment. Stay out of Airbnb. It's a waste of your freaking time.
Yeah.
I didn't know you hated Airbnb.
Well, I don't hate it.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't like it as much.
Well, I got started in Airbnb in 2017, so I've been doing it a long time. I still have some today, but yeah, I mean, I killed it for many, many years, pre-COVID, after COVID, and my properties doubled and cash flowed and made great money. But I just kind of can see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And it's like saturation, you got to be better. You've got to, more laws, more regulation. And, now with prices and rates, like really trying to just take all those factors into consideration. Because remember, when I first started doing it, there's way less competition. Prices are way lower, rates are way low. Like everything about it makes a lot of sense. And then today it's just a different game.
It's regulation, it's saturation, it's all of those things. It's also the hotel industry. Like Marriott has spent billions of dollars lobbying against Airbnb in certain areas like Atlanta, Vegas. You guys have had so much regulation here locally. So when you're an Airbnb operator and you want to scale, okay, well, you take 80% of the markets out. How are you going to go do that? First and foremost. Then secondly, you add the economic factors to it where these people are like, well, I don't want, if I'm going to travel, I'm going to go to a hotel now. Think about hotels 15 freaking years ago. They weren't experiential like they are now. Like you go into a decent hotel like Hyatt Place or anything basic, they've got an awesome lobby. They've got a restaurant. They've got all these things. I feel like they have stepped up their game so much that I would never look at staying in an Airbnb.
I like Airbnb for my family.
Of course, like bigger groups, you're staying at a place for a longer time for sure.
Yeah, because it's hard. Like, what kind of hotel am I going to get for, soon to be 4 kids and traveling, and like it's hard. So the Airbnb makes sense for that. But yeah, I mean, I never stay in an Airbnb when it's just me and somebody else. Like that's always a hotel.
No, and it's interesting. So for you on your Airbnbs, did you start getting rid of them in 1031ing, or what did you start doing?
I had some losses from flipping, so I just used them to cover losses.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like the perfect time to sell them and even recapture and not like deal with it.
Yeah. It's interesting about real estate right now. I mean, I'm getting ready to go on this big tour, and it's kind of like my final push to talk to newbies. And all these newbies, they want to jump into Airbnb as their first deal. I watch them all the time. Like, what are you doing?
No, they need a wholesaler flip.
You need a wholesale flip. You need a bird dog a deal for somebody else.
That's basically a wholesale.
Basically a wholesale where you didn't have to do the cold calling, right?
Yep.
And or go work for someone. Go work on somebody else's team.
Make commissions, sales.
Right.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot lately too on that front. It's like, I think some guys just try to get passive right away.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, you got to like make income.
Yeah, you got to make active income.
$15,000 deal. Go make a $5,000 to like make money.
There's the today money, the tomorrow money, the forever money, right? And everybody wants to jump into the forever money. They watch the Grant Cardones or maybe me or Ken McElroy, and they go, hey, I see these guys having these big
That's what rich people do.
That's what rich people do. And let me just skip the line.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these guys are like Uber driving and they want to go buy 100. I'm not joking. People will send me an email. They go, Pace, I've got a 166 unit multifamily deal. My name is Greg. Cool, Greg. What do you do? Like how far are you in this deal? He goes, oh, I just saw it online. Just thought you'd like it. Okay, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I'm driving Uber. I'm like, bro, hold on. Let's get you back here. Let's get you to find a couple of deals. Let's get you some active income, proof of concept, and a paradigm change. And that's the number one thing that people really need. Otherwise, they jump into like, let me jump into a rental and they can't manage it.
Yeah.
Or even worse, I watch, one of our good friends, I won't say their name, they talk about buying businesses. Guys, 99% of people on the planet should not be buying a business yet.
Yeah, I think the big problem is people don't understand the risk and the upside of it, like for today when you're first starting, like a business or even a rental. It's like, dude, one repair of a rental puts you under if you're driving Uber. Like
yeah,
toast.
On a single family home, I had 3 single family homes last year. All at the same time, the pools went bad.
Yeah.
60 grand.
You're done.
I was like, okay, well, there's 5 years of cash flow on one of those houses.
Yep.
And so you have to be able to weather those storms. Now, I'm doing a lot more RV parks, mobile home parks, and multifamily now. Like my RV parks, the only thing that you have to manage on an RV park is dirt.
So you're not doing too much single family anymore?
I'll buy probably 12 single family homes this year. They're all co-living.
Got it.
I went away from regular rental. I went away from...
Because you were doing, last time you were here, you were doing a ton of like co-living, just having single families like everywhere.
Yeah, I have, we hit my number, and now we're waiting for those to mature, and we're 1031ing as needed. So right now I've got 18 for sale. We're 1031ing all into RV parks and mobile home parks.
Got it.
Because the beautiful thing about what I do is I will go buy a property with no money out of my pocket. I let it mature. It brings in, let's say it grows $100,000 in appreciation, or let's say 150. I will sell that 1031 that money into an RV park, which makes significant cash flow. Like the average RV park that I own, the lowest one I own nets 13 grand a month after everything.
Yeah.
The highest one I own makes $22,000. And if you're into those deals, no money out of pocket, one thing goes bad on an RV park. What can be bad at an RV park?
It's just dirt.
It's dirt, grass, it's trees. The problem is it scares the hell out of a newbie. Oh, look at all these moving parts, look at all these things. But the people on an RV park that manage it live there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a business more than
it's a business. Yeah. That's a really good point. It is a business. And the cool thing is the employees mostly work for free rent.
Yeah.
That's basically
They
it.
live there. They're enjoying lot rent. They want the community to look good for them. They live there.
They live there. And the hardest thing I have for RV parks is that these people don't want to live there all year.
Yeah.
They want to travel. So I've got to switch out these managers every 6 months. So even then, as a newbie, here's what I would do if I'm a newbie and I want to skip single family. I would find somebody like me and I would go, if I brought you an RV park and I brought you somebody interested in seller finance, you buy it. Can I wedge into some of that ownership with you? And I've been doing that for the last couple of years. I give people like 5% or 10% ownership of the RV park for bringing the deal to me.
Yeah.
I won't pay them a finder's fee, but I will
rolling it into it.
There you go. So instead of the finder's fee, take some equity. And if that's the case for you, if you're a high income earner, you're like, I don't want to waste my time with wholesale, because wholesale is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And
it's a business too.
Bro, it's another business. And people that don't have the acumen for closing and sales and storytelling are going to have a really hard time with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I saw the other day you started a new mastermind.
Yeah.
What? Tell me about it.
Mastermind 19, dude.
Hole 19. It's like that's where the deals are done.
That's where we're doing the deals, dude. We've done a few golf things together.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, I've been doing this golf stuff now for the last 4 years. Like people coming to golf with me, doing consulting. Then I do, like when people came to golf with us, and we just went to Paynes Valley and Bandon Dunes and brought like big groups of entrepreneurs. And what I found was every time I would do that, it would attract like the high level entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's like all 7, 8, sometimes 9-figure guys. And afterwards, they'd always be like, bro, like, how do we like stay in touch? How do we keep this going? I'm like, I don't know, give each other your phone number. They're like, but like community wise. And I just thought about it. And, you're in a country club. I'm in a country club. Like part of the problem is your country club is always like local. And it's usually like older people who are like retired.
This is such a good point, right?
Chilling, whatever.
I joined my country club, which is not as nice as yours.
Mm-hmm.
I joined mine 14 years ago. And at the time I joined it because I was like, I want to raise money.
Yep.
So I joined my country club to raise money. And I've made some really good friends there, but none of them want to talk about money because they already made their money and they retired.
They're done.
They're done.
Yeah. Like my country club is 6 figures to join initiation now. So to be in, like most of them are not operators anymore. They're all just old and
they're chilling.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with that. It's great to know those people too.
But it's not what you expected and not what I expected. I expected something different. I thought I was going to go and find community and people that are driving and like building businesses.
Yep.
90% of the guys I have are like, no.
Yeah. And also too, they do golf every day. Like
every day.
We ain't got time for that. We're like doing stuff. So I was like, man, well, I know how to start communities. I know how to throw events. I know how to, like, I've been doing this. So we formalized it. And basically, I created this digital country club in a way. And, we got a community, a group. So what's going to happen is people can, obviously introduce themselves, network, all that stuff virtually. I imagine, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to Phoenix, on these dates. Who's in Phoenix? Who wants to go play? And you're like, oh, bro, like, I'll go host you in Phoenix. Like, let's go. That'll all happen in between. But the main thing will be just bucket list trips. And so now it just gives me like an excuse to do all these bucket list trips. And so,
well, here's the thing is like if a bunch of guys get together once, right? And they go do Bandon Dunes, for example, and they're all business owners. They all hang out and they go, man, this was incredible. How do we do with this more? Well, let's exchange phone numbers.
Yeah.
Well, what's going to happen?
No one organizes it.
No.
Nobody.
And there's no pressure also, there's no pressure of like, we have another looming date that's coming up that I need to prepare for, I need to plan for, I need to put on my calendar
Yeah.
because I committed to this thing. What ends up happening is if it's not an organized situation, then most people just fall away and they go, man, whatever happened to that thing we were going to
Yeah.
do?
Remember we were going to get together again, and yeah, and
So who's your ideal client for this?
7, 8-figure guys, 9-figure guys, even. We've already had a ton of guys, influencers, real estate guys. I mean, I actually have like a lot of golf guys who are in the golf world, like YouTube guys, pros, stuff like that. And then just normal, like everyday businesses. I mean, there was a guy who applied very first day. He had like 47 Bojangles. There was a guy, professional service guys, wealth management guys who manage like billions. Like it's crazy. And then there's normal guys too who are wholesalers, making $500,000 a year and hustling. And it's like, this is the other part of it too. So it's like, you go on these bucket list trips and, I think our next one's going to be in Florida, at Stream Song. And, let's just say we have 50 people there on this bucket list trip. The difference is too, like, we're going to play the rounds, but then after the rounds, we're going to have like a legitimate mastermind. And what I have found, and I know you found this too, is when we just only hang out with real estate guys, it just kind of gets boring. But then when we hang out with the financial guy, the tax guy, the coaching guy, the franchise owner, the dental guy, you're just like, whoa, you guys do that? And like, we would have never thought to do that in real estate. Like, okay, let me do this. Oh, you're doing that for your YouTube? Okay, well, let's try that over here in, tax. And I've just found more value getting around diverse
Yeah.
business guys.
I
And so,
stopped going to real estate masterminds about 3 years ago
Mhm.
because it's the same conversations, right? You've already accomplished those things, you've already checked those boxes, and you end up finding that they're all doing the same things and they're all saying the same things, and then they all want to have some transformational thing in their life. And I'm like,
Yeah, we can only talk about or the AI setter
right, long enough.
so many
Like
times.
30 minutes and I'm done with that conversation. I'll move on. And
Yep.
the other thing too is you want to be in a mastermind with people that have already accomplished things as well.
Yeah.
And I'll give the audience a really good example for people that don't understand why masterminds are so important. So I joined a mastermind last year. It's like a $250,000 mastermind. And I know it sounds like a lot. I mean, even to me, 15 years ago, you tell me I'm going to pay 20 grand a month for a mastermind.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's the craziest thing on the planet. But it is the cost of doing business nowadays, right?
And being in the room.
And being in the room. But here's what it means being in the room. So I'm sitting there. It's Tony Robbins mastermind. There's like 30 of us. And Tony comes in, he goes, all right, we're going to write down all of your biggest problems and we're going to hopefully solve them by the end of this 3-day thing. I'm like, all right, cool. Sounds great. So I write down all my problems. I go, I want to really raise $25 million a quarter for my multifamily fund, right? That's my problem. So it's on my list. And this guy sitting next to me, before I'm even done with my list, he literally reaches over and he goes, I can solve that for you right now.
He's like, I got it.
I got that. And I go, hi, what's your name? Like that's what a
Yeah.
mastermind is.
Mhm.
I didn't even know the guy's name, but because he knew I was in a filtered group, he was in a filtered
There's
group.
already trust.
There's already trust. And I bought myself into a room that was like, think about the person that has a mindset around, I don't want to join $1,000 coaching product.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a scam. Oh, it's you're charging me for education. That mindset. Guess what? Where those people don't hang out in $250,000 masterminds.
No.
I don't have time for those people. They can go hang out at Walmart for all I care. So the guy says, my name's Nick Sansone. Look him up on Instagram. Amazing. A new friend of mine, Nick Sansone. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I have 57 million square feet under development. I'm going to be the largest data center builder in the country. And I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. I flipped 20 houses last year. It's like, it's like the things you need to be in a room where you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And also in a room where people are loving on their wives and their children and doing and living
Core values.
the
Same
core
thing.
values, right?
Right.
It's why they got into that room 90% of the time is they had those core values.
Yep.
And so when you go on a golf trip like this and you're hanging out with other people, whatever your biggest problem is, people watching on the other side, you get into the right room, that problem gets solved in 14 minutes.
Yeah. I'll tell you too, the other thing that struck me about it and why I finally just decided to like go all in at it was, once again, being at masterminds, the typical mastermind is like we sit in a room for 2 days straight, 9 hours.
I'm over that.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
Yeah.
So like with this, it's like, oh no, bro, like we're gonna go play 18 holes at like a bucket list place and have a blast, have drinks, do whatever. Then we're gonna go spend 4 hours like really breaking in. Then we're gonna go have a sick dinner. Then we're gonna go do it all over again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, as somebody who has been to many things, I just don't see anything like it. So for me, I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go all in
I
with
don't think
this.
that exists. So when I saw you talk about it, I was like, "That's really smart." It doesn't exist. I think a lot of men are like, "Why doesn't that exist?" So it's good that you built it.